Good morning, everybody. This is a very special panel we organized at the Med Dialogues in Rome because of the topic, which is very hot, let's say, in terms of urgency, circular economy approaches for the Middle East sustainable development, which is urgent for the environment and urgent also for the health of the people in terms of risks for the pandemic we are still suffering today. And also it's interesting, especially for the participants. As you will see, I will introduce you each of them, and we will try to have a little debate, having short talks in order to explain what we are going to suggest as a practical solutions. My name is Enrico Molinaro. I am the Secretary General of the civil society organizations called Italian Network for a Euromed Dialogue in Rome, which is also the head of network of the Annalyn Foundation, 42 countries for dialogue in the Euromed region, and the chairman of the Association Mediterranean Perspective. So I will give the floor to the first speaker, representing a very interesting and significant institute, the Arava Institute, which is leading the debate in Israel, in the state of Israel, about the impact of civil society for the environment and for circular economy. So please, Mr. Tarek Abu Hamed, Executive Director of the Arava Institute for Environment Studies in Israel.
Thank you, Enrico. Good morning, everyone. It's really a great pleasure to join this important dialogue and to have the opportunity to talk about the work that we conduct in Israel, and specifically at the Arava Institute. The Arava Institute for Environmental Studies is an academic and research institution that brings Palestinians, Jordanians, Israelis, and people from all around the world to cooperatively solve our region's environmental problems. Our mission is to advance cross-border environmental cooperation in the face of the political conflict. We cannot have the conflict as an excuse for not dealing with the important environmental issues that we have in our region. The shared environmental resources of the region shall be protected from any further degradation. The scarce environmental resources that we have in the region, we want them not to be any longer a source of.
Whatever he wants to. If he wants to buy a new one, it's all right with me. But I'm now in a meeting and I cannot talk.
Okay, can you please?
Ambassador Kebeleu, to mute your microphone. Sorry, Tarek, sorry.
Not at all. And we do that actually to have our model, the environmental cooperation, to become a model for cross-border cooperation on all other areas of the conflict around the world. We provide the Middle East with the new generation of sophisticated professionals that will meet the region's environmental challenges with richer and more innovative peace-building techniques. The circular economy development in Israel has been driven mainly by academic institutions, industry partners, civic society, and entrepreneurs. These groups actually led the country's progress toward the circular economy. At the Arava Institute, we do a lot of transponder projects based on circular economy that would lead in the reduction of pollution and waste. We do that to improve the health and environmental conditions. We provide the local populations, actually, which is with the new economic opportunities in order to contribute to the political stability and the economic diversification of the region that we live in. We do that based on totally equal partnership. We managed to do that because we are very successful in building trust with our partners in the region. I can give you some examples examples of projects that we managed to do in our region in Gaza and the West Bank. The Arba Institute with its partners, Damor, a company for community and development in the West Bank, we managed to work on waste issues in Gaza Strip to introduce systems that generate water from drinking water from the air, wastewater treatment technologies, off-grid wastewater treatment technologies to treat the wastewater in Gaza, which is a major environmental challenge in the Gaza Strip, based on circular economy to treat the wastewater to solve environmental issue, and then to use the wastewater for the treated wastewater for agricultural purposes, and there will be a group of women to use that treated wastewater for growing feed for animals. So we try to close the whole cycle, treating the waste, and actually use the output of that treatment to create jobs for local people in the region. And the most important thing, we solve a transboundary issue, environmental issue, and we build trust. We use environment as a diplomacy tool to connect between people. We do several projects also in the West Bank, also in the Negev Desert in Israel, taking into consideration the mutual benefits of solving environmental issues in the region that we live in.
Thank you, Tarek. I guess many viewers will be surprised listening to you, because we know there is a conflict, and it's not a short conflict. We know there was recently some violent clashes, and the fact that you succeed with your institute to reach out the Palestinian areas in order to help and to benefit the population regarding this environmental issue, it means that probably what we discussed with Shaddad Attili, Minister Shaddad Attili, who is now going to be online, and Ambassador Deran at the Med Dialogue in 2018 was right, that it was possible to put aside this emergency issue of water, of environment, of sewage. This is something basic that relates to the basic needs of the population. So our challenge, maybe we don't succeed, but our clear challenge of this panel is to find a way, find a bridge to discuss this issue, to find solutions. And the best person who can witness this is the next speaker, Al-Mutaz Abadi, Palestinian himself, Water Managing Director of the Union for the Mediterranean, UFM. And I can be a witness as a member of the Water Expert Group that he makes the miracle to put all the people together eventually with a common document. Please, Al-Mutaz.
Thank you very much, Enrico, for inviting the Union for the Mediterranean to be part of this distinguished panel. I'm very glad to be part of this discussion, especially it tackle issues related to our work in the Union for the Mediterranean, and also it tackle issues related to my country where I live and my mother live in Palestine, state of Palestine. So it's very important to tackle this issue of circular economy and how to use this file as an element of cooperation and enhancing the way that we talk and deal with each other in the Mediterranean, where the region needs us, because the region needs a different approach, and the region needs to step out of the normal narrative that we raised on. The thing that we are promoting at the Union for the Mediterranean in terms of achieving the Sustainable Development Goal as such is not only to put ink on the paper, not only to produce only policy document and very nice publication, but the soul of our work is to develop these policies by bringing people together. Let them disagree, let them negotiate, let them agree, let them laugh, let them scream. But at the end of the day, what come out is a document that could be practically implemented at national level. So this is the soul of our work at the Union for the Mediterranean, that we need to produce policies that can be integrated at national level, and then these policies can be plugged in together when it comes to the cross-border cooperation and what we call it the variable geometry cooperation in the Union for the Mediterranean. The objective also, again, is not to bring people around the table also. It is part of the objective, but the objective that how those people around the table will contribute to enhance the socio-economic reality of their citizen. And looking at the resources available, look at the demand needed, there is a deficit. So the approach now is to go for the green agenda, where we call it the greener Mediterranean agenda. But at the same time, we need to look at the circular economy. It's the what we call it the circular economy and sustainable production and consumption aspects. When you look at the Mediterranean Union, you have in the Mediterranean Sea, sorry, you have more than 7,000 tons of plastic daily goes to the sea. 10% of our waste in the 42 member states of the Union for the Mediterranean, only 10% of the waste being recycled. That means 90% of the waste is not recycled. And not all the waste is dumped in a very good way. So if you look at the economic point of view of these waste, it's another resources that we can benefit. This is what we call it circular economy. What is needed to do this? You need three elements. The first is to enable the governance and the regulatory framework in individual country to promote for entrepreneurial to start putting their startups to make companies that produce income and then produce jobs and then contribute to the GDP. And in the Mediterranean region, there are success stories. So our goals in the Union for the Mediterranean to replicate this and to take it from region to another region, from country to another country, and we are respecting the specificity of each country. So sometimes we find what works in Spain does not work in Morocco, what works in Morocco does not work in Tunis, what works in Palestine does not work in Israel. Why? Because they need a reform. And then we help to do this reform based on the cooperation. The best approach, if it works on a country, that bring other countries to talk to that country and to replicate and just to put it onto their system and regulation. Circular economy is very important for our region because it is a new resources. It is a new job creation. It's a way how to enhance our GDP. And the last, which is very important, is tackling this, producing economic value, and at the same time protecting our natural resources and protecting our sea, protecting our heritage, protecting our environment, and which we say it, when you invest on the protection is much better than just to wait until the catastrophe and start mitigation. So protection is much better than mitigation, and this is the approach that at the Union for the Mediterranean we are doing, we are promoting at this level, which is the policy dialogue. And to prove this concept, we had identified with our partners, all partners, international organizations, UN agencies, with IFIs, implementing some projects that will prove this concept, that this is the way forward, and we are confident that this is the way forward. I would like to mention some of the projects like Switch MedConnect, which is the EU-funded project to bolster and enhance the entrepreneurials, funding very active young people, young women and men in the Mediterranean from the north and the south formula to work together, establish their small, medium enterprises to generate income as well as to deal with this huge amount of resources. If we look at them, they are not waste. They are resources that they can bring more income to the country. And then we have plastic buster project. And when it comes to the water sector, where I am working, the promotion of the circular economy in terms of wastewater treatment and reuse, it's another circular economy aspect, which is mega scale aspect. Now you are talking about the production of a fresh water cost you something between 50 cents to $1 or 50 cents to €1. But at the same time, if you treated it, it will cost you less. And then you have available to the environment, available to the ecosystem, and available to the farmer, a very cheap resources. While you are doing so, you are protecting the environment and also make more farming available to the citizen. And this way we achieve our utmost objective, cooperation among nations, as well as making our socio-economic reality better. Thank you.
Thank you, Almotaz. You anticipated some concrete ideas and projects that we would like to devote to the second round. So you will have 1 minute less. But we see now Shaddad. Shaddad, hi, I know you are traveling, so it's not easy for you. I thank you very much for your efforts to be with us. I mentioned the debate we had with you and Ambassador Dederan here in 2018 as an example of something surprising, because the philosophy, what you said was very clear. Let's put aside the conflict for a second, at least for this narrow but very specific issue, which is water, environment, and food. This is something on which there is a need to cooperation. And Tarek exposed some ideas that they are doing with Arava. And I think you may agree with this approach that is regional, like to what Almotaz said, to help each other with the best practice. Please, Shaddad Datili, Minister, former water minister of the Palestinian Authority.
Well, thank you. Wishing that we will be with you next year at the Mid 22. And sorry for being with you online over the phone, but this is how it goes here, just because I was traveling from Jordan to Palestine. Let me just start by saying that we're in the Mediterranean Forum, and we're just 1 month away from what's happened at Glasgow. And this is why that our commitment in the region and in the Mediterranean, as well as part of this work, addressing the climate change, as well as addressing the Mediterranean issue. And when it comes to address the Mediterranean issue, as Mu'taz and Tariq have said, that environment is a key issue. And as you said, Enrico, nexus is very important when we talk about water, environment, food. And you know, one can address nexus in isolation with other parties. And here that we bring the regional aspect to this dimension of cooperation between the different parties. I know UFM and we hear Mu'taz that they are working on regional cooperation, promoting regional project. And this is actually what we hope from the Italian Ministry of Foreign Cooperation and Ministry of Cooperation to engage on certain projects that really of a good outcome to the Mediterranean. But as you know that at UFM, you carry out activities, cooperation between North and South. And this is actually, it's needed. And Italy is welcome to cooperate and getting people around Rome talking about climate change, talking about water, talking about solid waste, recycling, reuse, and reduction, because all people talking the same language, but we have to see what to prevent people from cooperating. We know that we're in our region. This is a hotspot region. This is a region of conflict. But actually, as we do share pain, we do share benefit. This is why there should be an engagement, regardless of the political reality, which there should be an engagement addressing, adapting, mitigate the climate change consequences. Because if we don't do so, our coming generation will be really suffering. We already suffer, and we witnessed this last summer, this extreme weather conditions everywhere in Italy, in Palestine, in Israel, in Jordan, in Germany, in Brussels, in Canada. Sometimes temperature hit record, never been in the past 1 century. So it's now up to us whether we would like to live in peace and prosperity and providing the planet to our future generation that they can live, or we will be really very selfish if we don't do things that we address the future consequences of climate change. So talking about this specific reality between Israel and Palestine. And we hear Tariq and Araba they launched this environmental diplomacy center because this is something needed also, Enrico, that people, we need to advance the hydro diplomacy. We need to advance people talking about their future, their benefit. We need also, as Palestinians, we keep always saying that Israel has to end its occupation. It doesn't mean that any cooperation addressing services, addressing energy or water or environment, that we're really fine with the occupation. No, occupation has to come to an end and to the benefit of Israelis, Palestinians, Jordanians, Egyptians. Okay, we need to do things right. We need to engage in renewable energy. We need all to reduce solid waste. We need also to cooperate, especially in the nexus issue in the region. So we will be with you guys, whether with UFM, Enrico, Med Forum, okay, because we would like to enhance the spirit of cooperation despite the sensitivity and despite the conflict in the region, but something that we cannot deny. People will remain using water and they will remain in need of water and remain in need of food and energy. And today the demand is huge, and how the situation will be in 10 years, in 20 years from now. So this is my small contribution to this panel, and I wish you really success. And sorry again for not being able to join you physically and being with you virtually, and I hope it works.
Thank you, Shaddad. Are you going to stay with us or you have to close now?
I'll do my best, and I'll keep listening. I'll keep hearing. Okay.
Okay. In any case, you said very important words, and I'm sure the Italian government listened to you. Here we have the Foreign Minister Di Maio in the other room, and I guess also the European Union and the Americans should listen to you because your words are very clear and courageous, I would say, if you let me tell you. So thank you again, Shaddad. I would like to give the floor now to the Deputy Secretary General of a very interesting organization that not many people know, but it has a strong impact in economic cooperation in our region, in particular in the Black Sea, because the Black Sea Economic Cooperation Organization includes many countries neighboring the Eastern Mediterranean, but also they have the status of observers other countries of the region, including Italy. So I'm sure Ambassador Trajan Kebeleo will explain how you are starting to work on circular economy and what you want to do next.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me to this important event, focusing on a topical issue for all our countries. As you mentioned, our organization, which was founded in 1992, has in addition to the 6 littoral states of the Black Sea, 7 other neighboring states, which is Albania, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Greece, Republic of Moldova, North Macedonia, and Serbia, and also several other states from outside the regions have observer status with our organization. You mentioned Italy, but I would mention that also Egypt and Israel are also observers to our organization. So you can see the area covered by the territories of the BSEC member state borders not only the shores of the Black Sea, but also stretched an area extending from Adriatic, Ionian, Aegean, Mediterranean, Caspian Sea, up to the Arctic and North Pacific Ocean. So I would like to share with the participant of this panel what we are doing, of course, on a very briefly and selective nature, what we are doing within our organization to promote circular approaches for the sustainable development in the BSEC region, while emphasizing that we are only at the beginning. In the last year, we have initiated steps towards scaling up action on circular economy in the Black Sea area by raising awareness on this topic by shaping regional policy initiative and by promoting some projects. So in order to raise awareness, for instance, we hosted an international conference on fisheries and blue growth in 2017 to discuss the main issues affecting fisheries management, to assess environmental and socio-economic impact on fisheries and aquaculture, and to encourage cooperation between the private and public sectors in the Black Sea area. We also organized an international conference on marine litter with a focus on Danube River and Black Sea Basin in Sofia in 2019 to discuss circular approach for plastic value chain and the use of biodegradable materials for single-use plastics. Also, the Business Council of our organization organized a conference which was held online on 24th of June 2020 on the opportunities of circular economy for the SMEs in the Black Sea region, with the main goal to raise awareness about the efficient use of resources and to increase competitiveness, innovation, and technological progress among entrepreneurs in the BSEC region. We also have various projects, and I'm not mentioning them now. If we have time, we will do it. I will do it in the second part of our meeting. And I would only mention that as one of the challenges of our century is plastic and microplastic litter. We had a regional stakeholder workshop on economic opportunities of a circular economy, tackling plastic and microplastic pollution in the Black Sea region, which was held online on 17th of November 2020. So this event offers the opportunity to share a successful example of tackling pollution with plastic and microplastic, and to identify ways of further promoting the uptake of circular economy in the region. We are very much aware that there is still much to be done to adapt to the activities of our organization to the challenges of the present, in support of the endeavors of our member state to respond to the evolving international environment. Therefore, we are keenly interested in exploring possibilities of cooperation with partner organizations in what concerns circular economy principles in the economic policies of our member states. I thank you very much for the time being. This is I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. It was important to understand how, from another perspective, let's say the eastern shore of the Mediterranean, neighboring the Black Sea, it's also active an organization working on the same issue we are discussing today, circular approaches. And in my personal opinion, it's interesting that this is a topic we believe could be, as I said at the beginning, a bridge between also countries in conflict, because even in your organization, there are countries that are now having some discussions, let's say, some conflicting issues. But it's important that we keep the cooperation at this level, if you want low profile, but for something that is so crucial for our health. And I'm sure that Father Joshua Isaac Kuret-Adam will agree with me. He was at the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development, the OLC, one of the authors of the crucial encyclical Laudato Si, as the coordinator of the sector of ecology and creation, that the Pope launched as a challenge to all the world. We are talking about this region, but of course, there's an impact of what we say also beyond this region. And he knows that we have been investing a lot of energy in these years, especially in the Pontin Archipelago, trying to deliver this message inspired from this encyclica. So I hope he will agree with my approach. Please, Father Joshua.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Enrico. Good morning to everyone. And it's a great joy for me to join this dialogue and to be part of this very distinguished panel. Allow me to also bring you, blessings from Pope Francis, who is right now in the Mediterranean as a pilgrim of dialogue. And I've been asked to speak on the theme of circular approaches to the Middle East. And as Enrico mentioned, in the light of Laudato Si, so I took the liberty, with the permission of your secretary, to present a very few slides on this theme. And it struck me a few days ago that, the Mediterranean is special, that we are living we are in a circular context. The dialogue, the vocation of the circular economy is very much part of our identity, and over centuries, so many civilizations have been born, have been generated in the circular reality. So I invite you to contemplate, this map of the world, especially the Mediterranean, that we are all connected. We are part of this circle, thanks to the Mediterranean Sea. The 5 insights I would like to share with you in the light of Laudato Si, what Pope Francis has been telling us, which probably can give the context for our dialogue and our action. The first thing that Laudato Si reminds us that, and what scientists have been telling us, is that Earth is our common home. Rightly we spoke of the difficulties of dialogue. And maybe I think one thing we need to, realize more and more, that we are living in one common home, and that we are part of one common family. We may belong to different religions, different cultures, but then we are all very much together in this common home. I teach cosmology, so I always love this selfie of the Earth. There you don't see borders, you don't see Palestinian borders or Israeli borders or Jordan. We are all together in this common home. And the second thing is, I think this requires an integral vision, that we connect everything. And Laudato Si has a beautiful paragraph, which I would like to cite, that Pope Francis tells us that our human life is grounded in 3 fundamental and closely intertwined relationships. We exist in relationships with God, with our neighbor, and with Earth itself. So there's no reason why we should not be coming together. All our religions, all our faiths, politics, economics, scientists, we all need to come together because we are all related. So that is the integral vision that we need to dialogue. The third thing, I was also in Glasgow, is so important, that we link the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. Now, that's what really motivates us. And as it has been mentioned, the cry of the earth is causing immense human suffering. I remember in Glasgow, it's a very touching moment when the minister from Kenya said, for us, the climate crisis is already happening. We have a region where 2 million people are suffering famine, hunger, because of recurring droughts over the years. So food security, I think of Bangladesh, the second slide here, where a colleague was telling me when floods come, water can remain for 3 to 4 months there, and people living in those homes, and migration. Pope Francis is very close to his heart. And the dicaster, we also have a section on migration. And this year, ecology and migration sector, we did a study together. And what we found out was that it's known internationally today, but really struck us that today, ecological factors, the climate crisis in particular, cause 3 to 10 times more displacement than all the other factors. Earlier, it used to be conflicts and wars, which still contribute, but today the main trigger are the ecological factors, the climate crisis in particular. That's why we need to listen to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor together. The last 2 points, which means we need to learn a new way of dwelling in our common home. Again, the circular model, a circular politics, a circular economy. And with that, I come to the theme of our meeting today, that human economy has to be within human society. I think one mistake we made was to absolutize economy. The GDP, economic growth is it is not the most important thing. That it is part of the economics is within politics, and all this is within ecology, within our common home. So this is what circular economy, and I'm sure you're all experts on this. So Laudato Si has some beautiful paragraphs on circular economy that we can learn from nature. Nature doesn't waste anything, that we can be sustainable in this way. And I conclude about the importance of action. And I know it's the second part of a discussion. Just want to hint that it was mentioned time is running out. In Glasgow, we became aware once again that to remain within 1.5 degrees centigrade, we just have a decade. And again, to emphasize the circular thing, what the scientists are really afraid is that we are crossing many tipping points. The Greenland is melting, and the Greenland alone can raise sea levels by 7 meters, you imagine. So the Mediterranean Sea, our coast, but also the monsoons, the Amazon. So everything is connected. And on that note, I would like to close. And the second half, I'll be speaking of things that we can do, and especially one proposal from Pope Francis called the Laudato Si Action Platform. But that I will take up in the next half, next session of our discussion. Just wanted to provide this context of that we need to think that we are in one common home, that we need to have this integral vision, that we need to think of a new economics and politics, and it's time to act together. Thank you very much for listening to me, and over to you.
Thank you for the Joshua. It was very inspiring, especially the last appeal for the urgency. And it's true that this is a global issue to be solved at the global level. But though, nevertheless, we want to focus now in our region, because as our foreign minister said a few minutes ago, we have a 1% of the sea surface, but for instance, there are 27% of the trade. So we are more at risk here in the Mediterranean. And while there is a process also of social transition, and you mentioned the issue of the identities of our region and the impact on migration of the climate problem. So we do have the time for a second round, but only for 1 or 2 minutes, maximum 3, because we are running out of time. So I will give the floor again to the first speaker, Tarek Abu Hamed, with the prayer to be extremely short.
Okay, thank you so much. And I really enjoyed listening to. Okay, thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to the other panelists, and they all mentioned the Glasgow, and actually one of the most important outcomes of the Glasgow that everyone agrees on the importance of international cooperation to deal with the climate change. No matter where one stands on the political spectrum, no single country, no matter how well prepared, can insulate itself from the global and regional changes rippling across our region. And that's why actually the Arava Institute established the Center for Applied Environmental Diplomacy. Circular economy, environment, science, research are great diplomacy tools to connect between people. All the panelists here, all the organizations, the UFM, the Amur, Shaddad, the ambassador, and the peers also, we all agree to cooperate with each other. Italy can provide us with the umbrella to help us and assist us to do more cross-border trade work. And this cross-border opportunities actually must be sought in order to foster regional cooperation and ensure the environmental and economic stability. And this is like a holistic approach. We all agree on the importance of that, and we cannot use the conflict or the political stress that we have in the region as an excuse not to cooperate with each other. We live in the same region, we live in the same ship, and we have to know how to protect this region.
Thank you. Thank you, Tarek. And again, it's important to go into practical and concrete solutions, because the urgency that Father Joshram raised is shared by all of us. In this respect, Al-Mutar Zabadi already told us some projects, specific projects that can bring some solutions to the region. I have for you a question that I don't know if you can or want to answer, because my question is about here. We are in Rome. This is the Med Dialogue. Is it possible that Italy, especially now with the new government, can give some contribution, positive contribution to helping regional projects and new approaches to the circular economy for the Mediterranean?
Thank you very much, Enrico. Absolutely, Italy always can contribute more, and now they are contributing in the Union for the Mediterranean, Italy is very key player by contributing expertise in the house as well as money to fund our activity. But when it comes to the regional cooperation, today we hear the Minister, His Excellency Di Maio, was mentioning the amount that they spend from the Italian Development Corporation, the water sector and the circular economy and the blue economy, the economy of the sea, which is absolutely very important. But link it to our discussion today and knowing, I don't know if you know this, I worked to the Italian Development Corporation since 2007 until 2011 in Jerusalem, where I was managing a public health program with under the leadership of the Consul General and the head of Development Corporation in Jerusalem. We invested a lot on the waste collection and waste to energy aspects. And I know, according to my information, that there are a lot of money available to be spent on this sector in the Mediterranean. But sometimes there are a need to work on enabling environment. Here I talk about there are some money available from donation, some other money from loans, and there are need to work on the guarantee, especially for the big infrastructure project when it waste to energy, but it's available. Now, when it comes to our work, where you are engaged and your institution engaged, and you mentioned the migration, you remember at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Italy, where they were hosting the task force in water, employment, migration, we had identified a very good practices that we need to tackle the issue at the source and at the transit and then at the final destination of the migrants. And because people migrate for economic reasons as well, and people migrate for environmental reasons and climate reasons. But in case you support them at the source to create jobs, this is very important thing. I don't know what happened between your discussion with the Italian government on the Vella Territory, the project, which is focused on an element, we call it capacitating and enabling. This is from my perspective as I work with the Union for the Mediterranean and coming from Palestine, from the south. This is a very good example that we have to invest on training of a trainer and capacitating young people how to benefit from the circular economy aspects. Yes, there are a lot of efforts, but this specific place, it could be a starting point from Italian Development Corporation to invest. And we already in the Union for the Mediterranean supporting this initiative in Ponza, and we will keep supporting it. The solution for migration sometimes can be investing in the circular economy. It could happen that need a little work. Cooperation is the best. I should be honest to every one of us. We are saying that we need to enhance cooperation, but also we should not ignore the fact that conflict and lack of security, they are going to diminish the cooperation, because efforts of depoliticizing things is very important, but at the same time, we need to tackle also the issues parallel at political level. We cannot cooperate if there is a stakeholder in the middle that impose some regulation that will not enable parties to implement the projects. And in our cases, many times projects will not go steps ahead because of the conflict, because of security measures, because the investor will not come to invest when there is volatility on the political situation. So we need to tackle it from sustainable development point of view, but believe me, it will not be sustainable forever if we ignore and close our eyes that the political issue should be solved. And here, being at the Union for the Mediterranean, we start, I am a technical person, but we start our meetings at the senior official level about Middle East peace process, always in the agenda, because this is the way that we see that the solution in the Mediterranean is also to solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by two-state solution according to the international law. Thank you.
Thank you, Al-Mutazi. I'm sure the Foreign Ministry of Italy is listening to you, both for the political approach and the potential role and for the cooperation. You mentioned the idea of an holistic approach, putting together different issues. And this was, by the way, the conclusion of Italian Foreign Minister Di Maio a few minutes ago, because he also raised the need, the issue of needing to put together different aspects while producing concrete projects. Now, in terms of, and this is, by the way, this is the holistic approach that we raised, as you know, at the European Commission office in Jerusalem in 2018, when we had a number of meetings behind closed doors with the participation of Shaddad Attili and Oded Eran, because this is the only answer.
Yes.
Now, going back to Ambassador Kebeleu, you know that you're right, it's important to mention, for instance, also important countries like such as Egypt and Israel in your organization. But I mention Italy because I would like to hear from you, knowing that as an observer, you have Councillor Piantadosi at the Foreign Ministry, if Italy can do something for two reasons in this circular economy issue. To help your work in the Black Sea organization and to make a bridge with the rest of the organization, as I suggested in my participation, you remember, in the conference organized by one of our members, Eurispes, Marco Ricceri. So the idea is to put this issue of circular economy as a common issue without duplication and focusing on concrete answers. Non c'è la voce.
To highly informative presentation. On your particular question, of course, Italy as an observer is expected, and he's attending all our working groups, because our basic activities is done in our working groups, which are thematic on various areas of cooperation, economic trade and economic development, transport, environment, and so on. We have 19 such working groups. So, and the observers are able to attend all these meetings. So what we its views and its project and its experience in how this principle of circular economies are to be promoted. As it was emphasized already here, it's this is of course circular economy is an irreversible global trend. Yet much is still needed to be done in order to scale up action to apply circular economy principles in the Black Sea region, and also I would say globally. One issue, if I have time to mention, is that the Black Sea region is particularly affected by the plastic pollution, plastic-related pollution, and tackling these problems to the plastic pollution, marketing, use, recycling, and environment requires rethinking and improvement of value chains that often involve many countries and sectors. So this implied joint efforts, better cooperation, and innovative approaches. Okay, thank you very much. That's all I wanted to say at this point, and I thank you very much once again for inviting me to this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. In view of future cooperation activities, also with the civil society and our network. And Josh, you have the responsibility to conclude our debate. Of course, Italy hosts the Vatican City, and we have strong connections. So I think it's quite obvious that you also agree that Italy could have a responsibility to push, to raise this urgency you mentioned in your slides, and to give practical solutions, as we all agreed, on this circular economy emergency. You know that we are going to organize a meeting, a conference next December 13 at the European Commission, European Parliament office in Rome, at the Spazio Europa, where we want to put together the contribution of the religious communities and the municipalities in this issue. So what do you think could be, especially for concrete projects, concrete activities, the role of Italy?
Thank you very much. I would say, like, you know, I just noticed on your backdrop that it's your 7th anniversary or the 7th edition of the Mediterranean Dialogues. And what I'm thinking is that it's time to act and act together. Before I respond to your question, Enrico, I just wanted to, speak just 2 minutes or 1 minute on a proposal from Pope Francis on a 7-year action journey. We know this is the decade we have, and in Glasgow it became very clear. Scientists have been very clear to remain within the 1.5 degrees centigrade. We just have a decade, you know, even less than a decade. So we need to act, and the importance is to act together. So Pope Francis, inspired by Laudato Si, proposed a 7-year journey, inviting 7 sectors, almost everyone, with 7 goals, like the Sustainable Development Goals. We created the Laudato Si goals. Now, circular means being together. So we are inviting, beginning with families, our parishes, dioceses, our faith communities, our educational institutions, schools, universities, then our hospitals and healthcare centers, the world of economy, businesses and farms and cooperatives, everyone. 6th group would be groups, movements, organizations, and 7th would be religious orders. So almost everyone is involved. And we are asking them in 7 years become totally sustainable. So we are proposing 7 Laudato Si goals. Cry of the earth, that you become use renewable energy, clean water for all, biodiversity. Cry of the poor, we keep the poor at the center. Then did we change our economic paradigm? Adopt circular economy, that the micro level we change our lifestyles. Plastic was mentioned, for example. Then we really think of the 2 pillars of education and spirituality. Speaking from faith context, we think it's important, you know, that we bring our religions, our spiritualities together. And the 7th one is that we do all this together. So 7-year journey involving everyone, all sectors, with 7 holistic, as you mentioned, goals. And we are working very much with other churches, other religions, to work together. All this to create what we call the critical mass. You know, sociologists tell us that any change is possible only when we have a critical mass. And I'm sure dialogues like this can facilitate that. Now, the good news is that the critical mass is not a big number. They say if you have 3.5% of a group, we have the critical mass. So what we're hoping is that in the next few years, time is running out, we can, working together with religions and politicians, economists, indigenous communities, youth, everyone, we can create this critical mass. Now I come to what you asked, what Italy can do. I lived in Italy nearly 20 years now. And what I really liked about Italy is Italy facilitates cooperation. And sometimes it's not highlighted. Some of the best volunteers around the world, I know from the church perspective, our own missionaries, you know. Italians are people of the heart. And I think it's when we bring in the heart, not just the head or the intelligence, that we become holistic. And I think Italy can very much facilitate that. And as you said, Pope Francis, the Vatican is also like in Italy, or it's in Rome, so to say, like there's an independent state, like, you know. So I think the Italian government and the Holy See can together can be that because for any change, for any dialogue, we need to provide the space, you know, where people can come together, where you don't feel threatened, where all are welcomed. And I think Italy is doing it. I'm very much aware of it at the level of cooperation. And it's also very much the spirit, the policy of the Vatican. So I think we can be the space where people can come together. Where I began with a common home, where we can still feel that we are part of one family, that we are together, that we are in this common home, we live together, and we can act together. So Italy's role, Vatican's role, is to facilitate dialogue and provide that space of the heart where all feel welcomed and all are encouraged, accompanied, and we act together. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Joshua, for these inspiring words and also this appeal to us. We will take responsibility for the role you gave us, and we hope to fulfill some of the urgent needs for the area. You know that personally, I have a dream that we develop with our network, because one of the members of the network is an island where Italian democracy was born, with Altiero Spinelli, Sandro Pertini, our former president, Terracini, Giorgio Amendola, where they were confined from 37 to 39, and then they were deported to the neighboring island of Ventotene. And yesterday we had a meeting with the deputy president of our region, Lazio, to use a villa as a center for higher education and science diplomacy on sustainability, on circular economy, in cooperation with the Foundation Prima, which is a foundation hosted by the UFM in Barcelona with 19 countries, and hopefully in the future will be the whole 42 countries of the Euromed. So the idea is that what you said in this emotional way for our heart, we hope to bring it to concrete results. So I think if we all agree, unless you don't have any other last minute comment, we can conclude today this meeting. I think it was good to put together parties that are from different perspectives, but they have a common goal to bring a solution, a concrete solution for circular economy approaches to the Middle East and to the Mediterranean, hopefully with the help of Europe and Italy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We were celebrating the Mediterranean Day, and we asked many politicians and cultural activists, religious groups, what Mediterranean mean for you. I noticed that many were saying about diversity, and it is a mosaic. So let us keep the Mediterranean like this. We want to have the identity. We need to have a beautiful mosaic and diverse, but also collaborative and cooperative for the better of the future. I saw somebody said that don't mess with my future. Yes, we don't want to mess with our future, and we need to cooperate. Thank you.
We totally agree with you. Our slogan as a network is Mediterranean identities in the plural. So the mosaic is perfect for us. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.